Hold in my hand right now what is a very precious commodity. Now, this will probably be irrelevant as time goes on with this video, but it does illustrate the point. And I want to talk about prices in general in economics, but apply them to a few examples. And I'll apply them to toilet paper and apply them to water. But I do find it kind of funny that a situation in our economy is, and this is a little bit of an exaggeration, a little bit facetious, but where our paper money has basically become worthless in a lot of senses, or has lost a lot of its worth, and our literal paper has become much more valuable. Now, I usually talk about prices and water in California. California in recent years has gone through a drought, which it's now, I believe, come out of, but the prices were hugely important during that time, as they always were. They always serve a huge role in economics, and my cat here is going to be helping as well. I have people read this article that's linked here. Foundation for Economic Education talks about this. It's called California's Water Economy is Thirsting for Prices. And what the article talks about, I have some quotes here from the article, but the article explains how prices work and how it applies with regard to water. But all we have to do, this is very intuitive, is look at human behavior. And you can see through a certain view of economics that watches human action, incentives, how people actually behave, you can actually describe, explain, and predict behavior. Now, with regard to water, California is a desert, which means that it's not necessarily cold and dry, but what a desert actually means is that it just has lower precipitation, has less rainfall, less snow, that type of thing. But California's water problems are not really problems of lack of a renewable resource like water. They're more of a problem of mismanagement or misallocation of those resources. And that's not to say that there should be some sort of group allocating or with the right amount of knowledge to allocate what the right amount of needs are for water or where water should go. That's something that they wouldn't have the knowledge to do, the ability to do, and it would take a huge amount of power and resources to make that happen. And they still, no human being could get it, or group of human beings could get it right. But we allow prices to fluctuate naturally according to scarcity, then prices can be very helpful in guiding our behavior and guiding our decisions. So demand increases. Let me give an example. This can work with water, it can work with anything else. This is how prices fluctuate and how prices work. The first rule of economics is scarcity. Scarcity is the fact that there are limits, the fact that we want more than there is, the fact that alternative resources could be used on other things. So how do we decide on what things they get used? This paper used to make toilet paper could have been used to make something else. The firewood from the tree that it was made with could have been used for firewood. It could have been used to build a house. It could have been used for writing paper. It could have been used for toilet paper. It could have been used for trees in somebody's yard. Who knows? But my point is that once it's used for this, it can't be used for something else. And so there are limits, there's scarcity. And so, according to supply and demand, we have prices. Supply is the amount of scarcity, the amount of what is available or a particular resource. And demand is, do people want it? How many people and how much of it do they want? And that will determine the price. It's true with water, it's true with toilet paper, it's true with everything else. So we see, I'm holding in my hand an ordinary roll of toilet paper. Normally, the price on this, I don't know off the top of my head what it would be, but fairly low. But as demand for toilet paper increased, what happened? Now, when I say demand increases, this is an economic term, this is economic technical language, but this just means that more people want it than usual. Okay, so there's a certain amount of demand, there's a certain amount of supply, it's produced, there's an agreed upon price based on how many people want it, based on how many people or groups are supplying. But now increased demand, more people want it. There's competition, and people want more of a particular resource. Now, normally, before I talk about what happens, what does that do to the price? So let's pretend, as a situation, I now have, whether on the black market or the actual market, I have a roll of toilet paper. Normally it's a certain price, but if demand increases, what happens to the price? Well, the price increases as well. And what does that price increase communicate to us about the availability of toilet paper, water, or any other resource? An increased demand that leads to an increased price communicates to us that there is more or less available. And so think about it. Here's the toilet paper. More people want it all of a sudden. The price goes up. Now this tells us we need to conserve the paper. The price communicates to us very effectively and doesn't force us to do anything or not do anything, but the price communicates to us very effectively and helps us in our decision making. It sends a signal to us. So as the demand increases and the price increases on this, it tells us that there's less toilet paper or less water available. But here's the thing. As is now with toilet paper, it happens with water bottles during some sort of natural disaster. It happens with other commodities. Is people get into this sense of feeling that the prices are too high, that there's price gouging, as it were. People know that people need a certain amount of resources, and what happens is they charge a lot more for them. People feel that it's unfair, and so they feel like there should be some sort of legislation to stop that. And there are philosophical problems with that complaint as well, but we're just talking about economics. Economics doesn't make value judgments, it just talks about what is. But here's what happens when you say, okay, there's going to be a price ceiling. If you don't allow the price of any commodity that's scarce, that demand increases for, that if you don't allow the price to increase, or you put in a price ceiling, as I have drawn here, a blockage to the increase of a price, what's happening is shortages. What happens here is fixing, where the price is artificially locked in at some amount. It's not allowed to be flexible. It's not allowed to rise according to demand or fall according to supply. What ends up happening is the price is locked in, and lower prices encourage what? Think about how we behave. When a price of something is lower or remains low or remains what we're used to, do we buy more or less? Think about it. Item you buy normally, a lot more people want it all of a sudden. The price is kept at what it usually is or is even lower. How do we behave? Most human beings, not to speak of individuals, but most human beings buy more. That's what has happened with toilet paper. That the price, the demand, for whatever reason, has nothing to do with the coronavirus or anything of that nature. But for whatever reason, the demand has gone up, and the price has not gone up because of multiple reasons. Legislation about price gouging, fear of being accused of price gouging or something of nature. And what ends up, and then there's a lot of complaints about hoarding. Well, because the price has not been able to increase to reflect this reality of scarcity, hoarding is what you get, or what happens is shortages. Now let's speak with it with regard to water. Water in California, if there's less scarcity and there's more demand, more people who want and need water at the same time, what naturally would happen is the price would increase. Now, when the price increases of something, that communicates to us. Think about if the price of water went up, how most of us would behave. The price of water would increase, and we would behave by most of us using less water because the price has communicated us based on our incentives, based on our decision making. When a price goes up, most people behave by buying less, which communicates to us that there is less available, and there you usually avoid shortages, which could have happened with toilet paper as well. Now, what happens when the demand increases and the price is allowed to increase? Would you have toilet paper for $100 a roll? Possibly, but what you could also have if you're a toilet paper salesman, okay, and I'm able to sell toilet paper at $100 a roll, totally freely, no laws about legislation about price gouging. People need it. The demand has gone up. The price has gone up, reflecting the reality of scarcity. There's less toilet paper. But then people around me also start seeing this guy, this toilet paper salesman, is making $100 a roll. He's getting pretty rich by simply selling toilet paper. This encourages other people to increase the supply, to enter the market, create or sell or make available in some way more toilet paper, which then puts upward pressure on quality and downward pressure on the price and brings it to more a stable level. But those things aren't happening right now. And with water, same thing. The price is locked in. It sounds nice when they legislate. The prices must be locked in. Keep your prices low in exchange for votes or whatever the case may be. But prices too low, artificially low, leads to shortages most of the time. And that's what the quote from this article was talking about. When the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied, the price is too low. Now, that may sound like technical economic jargon, but let's look at it with toilet paper. The quantity demanded, the actual stuff that people want, exceeds, people want more than there is, the quantity supplied, the actual stuff. I said that backwards. When more people want toilet paper than the amount that's available, then the price is too low. Legislating a low price does nothing either to the increase of production or discourage consumption. Just by saying we're going to lock in low prices, this does not make more toilet paper or stop people from buying it. In fact, it encourages people to actually buy more and hold on to the toilet paper. And the same is true with rent control, with minimum wage, with toilet paper, with water, with everything. The law of prices is pretty simple and pretty fits. And so people try to manage the price. Now, the opposite is true as well. If demand decreases, usually the price decreases as well. When there are less people that want toilet paper, the price of toilet paper will come down, reflect more is available. Same thing with regard to water. When less people need as much water, when they're not using as much, the price will come down. Now, I understand we need water to survive. That's not referring to. I'm referring to the general state in which we decide to use more and the price is lower, for example, washing cars or something of that nature. So if the price system is not allowed to fluctuate freely according to real-world market conditions, the only thing that can be done is demand management. And demand management means, in terms of California and its water problem, is they'll have government programs to pay you to take out your lawn, or give you a certain water day, or have tickets or fines for watering your lawn, neighborhood on your neighbors, or commercials reminding you to turn off your sink. With regard to toilet paper, who knows? Something may happen with it, something may not. This is how prices work. That when the quantity demanded, more people want something, and it becomes greater than the quantity supplied, the price is too low. And the price is not allowed to rise, not allowed to be flexible, to rise and fall. What ends up happening is shortages. And that's what we're seeing. And so prices can help us understand a huge amount of economics. They're hugely important for sending signals to the economy that help us make decisions all the time with limited knowledge. And they can help us allocate scarce resources that have alternative uses in a way that's efficient and gets resources to where they're most needed in an economy. So no one likes high prices, but prices are hugely important for communicating that vital information in an economy.